This is difference number 10, and it's another one of those differences that might not seem very impactful at first, but is actually fairly significant in the way the game has changed, and that is diplomacy. You know, how can diplomacy have changed during the mod? How does that change? How does the mod change how you interact with other players? Well, there's a couple of new diplomatic options, and there's one notable diplomatic option that has been removed. The big two diplomatic options that have been added are essentially the requirements for embassy and open borders have been changed. It used to be you needed writing. I think it was writing to have an embassy. And you needed civil service. One of the two needed to have civil service to have an embassy. So that meant that you couldn't actually tell where players' capitals were unless you sent a scout to it. I've just met Congo. I'm trapped in the corner here. I want to find out where his capital is immediately. So now you can trade embassies with players. And players are generally quick to trade embassies because it allows them, say, to see what wonders they're building, where their capital is, where they can settle cities. Because now that I see where his capital is, all of a sudden I have extra information. For example, I can see that he is a desert capital. He might try and build Petra before me. He is also, fairly close. We're going to be in competition for settling a city somewhere in here. I'm sort of trapped on this side. This is very influential in terms of what my decision making is. In terms of, am I going to go tradition? Am I going to go liberty? Am I going to honor? This might seem, just being able to see where another player's cap is might not seem like a big deal. It's a fairly big deal, especially with you see it especially with more experienced players. There's a lot of mental calculus that goes in when you see another player's cap, because immediately you can tell, okay, how much food do they have? What's their luxury? How much production do they have? Are they going to beat me to key wonders? Are they going to be able to expand quickly in my direction? Stuff like that. You can get quite a lot of information out of seeing someone's capital. Perhaps one of the most notable things is you can see what wonders they're building, because the shape of the wonder they're building will appear around the city. And now you can see every single tile around it. If I had to bring my scout here, maybe I could get a scout here and I could see these tiles, but I wouldn't see the tile here. And it's possible that the wonder could appear there. Open borders are now the other thing. I can get open borders from him. Wants gold for it or something. But with most players, they can give open borders. And that means you can get your scouts through. You can meet other city-states. You can heal wounded units. You can. Not all players don't take advantage of this. You can also gift units. So say your neighbor is under attack very early. You can gift them units to help them survive. Not as impactful as the embassy change, but relatively impactful nonetheless. It's a big deal for scouting because players it's very important for players to say meet all the city-states if they want to go for a diplomatic victory, or meet all the players to get early tourism generation going, stuff like that, or get all the natural wonders. Common thing to look for. The one major diplomatic change that has been removed are research agreements. It used to be that after you got to education, you could sign a research agreement with someone, and essentially it would run for 20 turns, and give you a share again of the science you generated during that time. It was very, very OP. It was banned almost in all games, in most NQ games. So removing it from the mod was essentially a formality. But if you're coming from the base game, just a heads up, it's not there. You will not be able to sign research agreements with people. So don't bother people about it. It's not in the game. That about sums it up on the major diplomacy changes. It's just something I've encouraged consistently with new players and more experienced players is really do not be afraid to use diplomacy. Don't be afraid to talk to other players. Most of the players in the group, they're pretty chill. They're pretty nice. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. Where are you settling? Is it okay if I settle in this spot? Stuff like this. So that you avoid getting into pointless wars, or you avoid pissing people off. Stuff like this. And also, if you're new and you have a question, just ask away. A lot of people are very happy to give advice. That about sums it up for diplomacy. Again, not maybe doesn't really seem like the biggest change maybe to a newer player, but being able to see people's capitals very early has actually changed the dynamics of the game quite substantially.